What's up, and welcome to Nighttime at the Nerd Bar. Oh my goodness, episode 28 that I'm like, what? We're almost at 30. Woo!
Eventually,
Yay.
it is going to have as many episodes as I am years old, and that's going to be really weird.
That will be an odd feeling, yes. Well,
Really
we are very
weird.
excited to be here, and we also have a special guest this way. Woo!
Hello.
We'll go down the line in a moment here. All right. I'm Carrie Lane and joined by my co-host. We'll do that first. Tossing it over.
Okay. I'm Katie Cullen. Hi, all my buddies. And then in the middle here, the special guest filling of this podcast sandwich.
Yay!
Hi,
What's
I'm
up?
Frances Locke. Thank you for
Yep.
having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
I'm like robot voice. Frances Locke. This is my normal speaking voice.
I am feeling the human emotion. Happy to be here.
Pretty much.
Well, Frances, you may recognize from online she's really big into figures, has some awesome videos on TikTok and some very funny ones and informative ones about figures. Frances, tell us a little bit about what got you into that, as well as your top 3 or 5, if you can't limit it to top favorite anime.
So
Go.
I've been collecting figures since 2006. My brother bought me like a tiny little figure of Sumomo from Chobits, and I was like, this is the best thing in the whole world. And then I went to Anime Expo that year, and I blew all of my money from my part-time job on buying anime and manga, and you guessed it, figures. So I've been collecting like super hardcore since then. I worked for Good Smile Company for a while, which is a big figure company based out of Japan. So that's also why I have like a bajillion figures, almost 1,000 technically, if we're gonna do the official count. I've been doing TikTok for the past few months now. I absolutely love it. I'm able to communicate with a lot of people directly, a lot of like newer, younger fans that like have very different mindsets than like what I've been coming from as like, you know, you see people on there talk about like, oh, older anime fans, and then asking a question about something like 5 years ago. And I'm like, oh God, if that was 5 years ago, what am I? Like my favorite videos of recently is somebody asked, what was your first manga that you bought at a Scholastic book fair? And this girl specifically asking it to older anime fans or older manga fans. And my husband and I were like, Scholastic book fair never sold manga. And then we did a deep dive, figured out on the internet, they started selling manga in Scholastic book fair in 2006 after I graduated high school. So I'm like,
Yeah.
what? I am not that old. Don't call me old, please, young TikTok Gen Z peoples. But either way, I love being able to talk to people. I used to have a YouTube channel. I technically still do. You can find me under How a Girl Figures. But YouTube has a lot of like, I gotta edit and record, and TikTok is just so quick of like a 5-10 second video, and I can just tell you how I feel about figures and go from there.
And you let us know about fakes too.
I do. I really hate bootlegs, mostly because I've been like conned into thinking like going on eBay and here's this $50 figure selling for $20. This person doesn't even know what they're selling. They don't even know they're getting ripped off. I'm gonna buy this figure because it's so cheap, and then realize I'm the one who was ripped off because it's a terrible fake. So I'm always trying to educate people on how to spot fakes, how to tell the differences, and what it means to support the industry, but also supporting artists. Because nowadays there's a lot of fakes out there where they're like making merchandise off of like fan art. And I feel like that's like even more wrong than the fakes that they might make of like, I've copied this official merch. Like stealing from a fan is like the worst. They're the little guy. Support the little guy.
Yeah.
And then like favorite anime, Card Captor Sakura is like my all-time, like I'm gonna like try and wiggle this camera over. I have like a bunch of Kero-chan that I love, and then like behind me, I don't know, this is hard. This display case is all Card Captor Sakura, and then even my chair, this is my work from home setup, and my chair, I like put a blanket
Aw,
of
Yes.
so
Cardcaptor
cute.
Sakura on it. So that one's like my number one all time. And then like in no particular order, I really love like Naruto Shippuden. I love like Evangelion, Gurren Lagann is like a big favorite. I also like
Your
collect every
waifu.
figure of Yoko.
Mhm.
Yoko is my waifu. And I'm not lying, I have every figure of Yoko. I even have like the big giant doll. My
I love
brain
that
is
you've
like
gone from Cardcaptor Sakura and then your other top 3 are just shonen. I love
yeah,
it.
I have like a really like wide range of stuff that I like. There's not like a type of series that I'm like I don't like this type. Like
Mm.
I'm all for like, super fan servicey, ridiculous like food wars, ridiculous fan service story where you're like this is inappropriate, but I can't stop watching it like Yosuga no Sora. Crazy like violent shows like Mirai Nikki is like super fun and awesome to watch. I love a good thriller like Erased where you're just like who did it, who's the bad guy, oh my god, he trapped him in the car, what's gonna happen next. And then like favorite like comedy stuff. Full Metal Panic is like a number one on there that I love. A lot of older stuff because I'm an older weeb now at this point, but yeah, I like anime.
I just realized, I'm like, wait, I had a special guest banner for you.
I did.
Nice. Thank
Special
you.
guest. And then
Yeah.
also something else, we are so excited at the top. We have a live chat going. If you're watching this live, join us. And if you're watching it later, no worries, comment down below. And we do have somebody in the chat. We got Giga Derek. Hello, humans. Yes, hello.
Hello.
And then referring back to Scholastic Books, I bought Shonen Jump at those book fairs. Yay.
That means you're a youngin'.
Yeah, I graduated in 2006.
Yep.
I was like, yeah.
2005. So it was way past my time. But that makes me happy to know that that's a thing that they did.
Yes.
I don't know if they continue to do it, but I hope they do. Because
Mhm.
manga is such a really great way to get people invested in reading.
The fact
know,
that it's
like-
at the library too. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of them do. Not just
That's-
like 1 or 2 titles. They can have an entire, though it was pretty cute. I remember going to my local library and it was the bigger branch. And I was asked, oh, do you have a manga section? Like, yes, we do. They were so excited. And it was only like 2 little things. But I'm like, it's still something. But it was adorable how excited they were for this like
Yeah.
small bit.
I
LA
love
has
it.
some really big selection.
That's what
I've got
heard.
several friends who are librarians, and they're like, "Yes, and we're ordering more manga." And I'm like,
That's
"Yes,
that
get
makes
them
me
young."
So happy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because we used to have to go to the mythical land called Borders that is lost to us now in
Borders
order
was
to
my
obtain manga.
place.
They
Borders
had the
was
little
my
armchairs
place.
at the end of the aisle so you could just pull something that wasn't plastic wrapped off the shelves and chill.
Oh, mine did not have that. I had like a very tiny Borders in my local
Oh.
mall, but I like part-time job at Sears, so it was like I have a 15-minute break. I'm going to Borders. and
Nice.
spending all of my paycheck.
Aw.
And it was like very tiny, so you just stood there and read. And
Ours was
it was
2
great.
stories. So
wow.
Yeah, we had a big
Oh
part-
yeah,
we
there was a big
one.
old kids section. There
Ah.
was a lot of nice stuff in that mall, and then things occurred. There was an ice skating rink in that mall.
Wow.
It's a
that's
Dick's
fancy
now.
mall.
I'm amazed it survived, but it's a Dick's now. Like, okay, no more ice rink in the Chapel Hills Mall. And like one
Well-
person in chat goes, "I know where that is." Like, congratulations.
I was going to say, we're talking about things we're excited about, which leads us into our things we are excited about, which is somewhat tied into news, but news is a little heavier. So we're excited about it.
Yes.
So one quick one at the top here. So opening day announcement. So this is a new anime movie coming to theaters on June 3rd in New York and Los Angeles. Everybody else, just stay tuned because it's one of those, big cities first. I like that they're doing East Coast and West Coast. So fortune favors Lady Nikuko. I probably said that a little too awkwardly there, but Nikuko.
Probably like Nikuko.
Yes, thank you. My brain. But then they do list other markets as well, so stay tuned for that. So that is G Kids is part of the distribution on that. So you follow them online. They have a lot of they're really good about posting on social media when movies are coming to theaters and letting you know about that. So go check out that new upcoming film. Yes. And then Katie, are we doing, we'll do the things we're excited about, which leads into other games, unless you got other stuff too.
Oh, it's all gaming.
Okay. So we'll tie it. So
all gaming.
Things we're excited about, which includes all gaming stuff.
So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, gaming is where I yell about Overwatch League for 5 minutes. And then I also have other gaming news that's not Overwatch League. But for now, we're wearing the Guangzhou Charge shirt. It's not a great week to be a fan of the Guangzhou Charge. They are not the best team in the APAC region. They got handily 3-0'd this weekend twice, which the APAC region is the Philadelphia Fusion are the best team. The Shanghai Dragons and the Spark are still up there. And then everyone else is just kind of doing their best. So we did get the APAC games back. There was a 2-week delay in the APAC region because of COVID protocols and COVID risks. But now we did get a good amount of games from them this weekend. Philadelphia Fusion looks far and away to be the best team in APAC right now. The fact that they took out the Shanghai Dragons, who were last season's champion, handily, they beat them 3-0 in their match against each other. Just very easily. Shanghai did all right. Shanghai was not up to Philly's level, and that is unusual for Shanghai. So, everyone watch your predictions fly away into the night, because that APAC delivered this weekend.
Francis, you smiled. I was going to say, are you familiar with Overwatch?
Not at all.
Okay, you're like
She's
me. We're
just humoring me.
I'm like,
no, Katie does a great job of making it sound exciting. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes.
But the way you do.
Yeah, this is the part of the show where everyone humors me as I talk about my sport, my esport.
Giga Derek has a question. Did Gladiators and Uprising lose the same way 2 Saturdays in a row?
Yes, leave me here to die. I personally am not super huge on the Uprising because they do have that rivalry with the Gladiators, and I'm very much a Gladiators fan. But yes, this is the second week in a row that not only did the Gladiators lose 3-2, they lost in a reverse sweep, which means that they won the first 2 maps, and then their opponent won the next 3 all in a row. A reverse sweep is a very, very painful thing when you are rooting for the team that loses because you're so close to winning, and then you don't. Last week's was a rough one. This week, it was against the San Francisco Shock. And San Francisco Shock is currently 4-0 in the standings, looking like they're going to go into the kickoff clash is what they're calling it, the first miniature tournament of the season. They've qualified. They're in. They are the strongest team in North America right now, which, considering that they had an iffy season at best last season after being back-to-back champions the 2 seasons before that, it's a return to form, despite the fact that they have like 80% new players, and a lot of them are rookies that they pulled up from contenders. So this is Coach Krusty pulling it out again, and I am super excited to see where San Francisco goes. Gladiators are currently 2-2, and again, those 2 losses were reverse sweeps, which is definitely a rough one, but I do think they're going to do better. I do think they're going to qualify. They have been very strong showings. At no point did they ever roll over and let someone else take it. Houston won. It's a good week to be a Houston fan. 3-0'd the London Spitfire, so not the highest hurdle to get over, because London's doing better. They're definitely doing better than last year, but they are still not one of the best teams in NA. We've got 12 teams in NA to contend with, and they're kind of like 10th place territory. So rough time to be a London fan. Good weekend to be a Houston fan. It's all really interesting. I think the weirdest match we had this weekend was Washington Justice and Boston Uprising. And Washington is one of those middle-of-the-road teams that could do really well, that could do okay. You expect good things from them, generally speaking. And they've had a fairly good showing this season so far. And Boston is Boston. Boston is doing their best. We were all expecting Sunday's matches, which were very unevenly matched, to be 3-0, 3-0, 3-0. The first 2 were. The third one, Boston beat the Justice 3-1. Nobody saw that coming. It's Boston. So that was a very, very weird little upset to end Sunday. And if you're a Boston fan, you're happy. And if you're not a Boston fan, you're just kind of confused. So the Justice are one of those teams where it's like being an Outlaws fan. You like them, you hope they do well, but it's a very stressful situation every time they play. So yeah, I enjoy Overwatch League. It's good for my mental health. It makes me happy, even when my teams do things like lose a reverse sweep 2 weeks in a row. Yeah! Or if you're, a Guangzhou fan and you just cannot win.
There you go. You can show it off more now.
Yeah. It's pretty. It's from the Fanatics line 2 years ago. They are on massive sale. So if you want some cheap merch for your team, Fanatics is selling stuff for like $5 and $10 a piece, and they keep having coupon codes. It's a good time to get merch if you don't mind it being a little bit outdated. Nobody has had a Valiant style massive color change over the season, so you're fine. And yeah, they've still got some pretty good stuff there. No jerseys, but t-shirts, tank tops, kids size stuff if your size runs a little smaller, etc. So yeah. In other not Overwatch League gaming news, and at that point everyone kind of tunes back in and goes, oh, are we back to the anime? Are we back to the things that we're interested in? Crunchyroll, My Hero Academia's The Strongest Hero is celebrating its 1-year anniversary. For those who are not familiar, it is a mobile RPG, so it's, to my understanding, a little bit like Genshin Impact in terms of how it runs, playstyle, etc., like that type of mobile RPG. And they are running all sorts of first anniversary events and giveaways. For one, they finally have Sun Eater as a character. He's being released for this anniversary. They're doing anniversary recruits. They're doing a login event. So if you log in from May 18th to June 14th, it gives you, it gives you fun stuff. It gives you rewards. And they are doing additional anniversary celebrations. There's going to be all sorts of new stuff in here. It's already started. This started on May 18th. So if you're playing the game, definitely, open it daily, get your rewards, participate in the events. And if you haven't played the game, again, it's My Hero Academia, the Strongest Hero. It's available on mobile platforms. Now's a good time to start. All the shiny stuff is happening now. Take advantage.
Well, Gigadoric said, a game I downloaded and played once.
And now you can play it again.
Yes, because you get bonuses. Do it.
I believe in you.
Yes. So game events, that is very fun of Go My Hero Academia. So
yeah, congrats on your anniversary.
Where'd it go? There it is. The other, so not an anniversary, but semi-new beginnings. Our family is becoming more of a family. We also love found families here, and it's just absolutely adorable. Francis, being our special guest today, what did you think of episode 7? We get more of Anya at school. We get some more family time at home. What did you think of this episode?
It was so good. I really love the like slow relationship building that you're seeing between Lloyd and Yor, and Anya cares so much for them and just wants to be this big, beautiful family, and she's trying her hardest. And she broke my heart with the apology scene that was so good. I've been reading the manga since the start of the series. I was like, I need to start. I can't wait every week. And that scene in the manga was so good, but I felt like they animated it so well that like my heart broke into 80 billion more pieces than it did from the original heartbreak of seeing her get like that in the manga. And then just also Damien's like reaction. It was a really great episode, and I felt like they really have been doing it so much justice.
Yes. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. And then for anybody reading the mangas, please no spoilers. We're just doing episodes of the anime as we go. You just get to sit there with the knowledge of what comes next.
Yes, yes, I will not spoil anything.
Don't worry. All right.
Yeah, y'all Katie. Get to sit there and go as we make predictions. Like, excellent. Like, yep.
Katie, what do you think?
I enjoyed this. I thought it was a little weird to kind of have it delineated into 2 separate stories. And then talking with my roommate, she made the point of, this is adapting a gag manga. We're probably going to have a number of episodes where that's what happens because we have single chapter stories that go down. Like, that makes a lot of sense. I'm still very, very amused at the omurice with sorry, 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 sorry written on it. Like, that makes me really happy. It's one of those little teeny dumb details where I'm like, I need a screen cap of that. I needed a screen cap of last week's Hello Anxiety, my old friend. And I need a screen cap of the sorry omurice, because that's things that live in my meme folder that I will continually use. Becky is perfect. Everyone
adorable.
deserves a friend like Becky. She is
Yes.
perfect. She is a good child, and we support her. Damien having a crush is one of the funniest things. And once
It was
again, we
so
continue.
cute.
It's so good. And once again, we continue to drive the point home that Twilight is incredibly ill socialized. Like, again, we go with he understands how to become what other people want him to be. He understands how to read people as targets or objects or missions. He doesn't get kids, which
No.
fair, not every adult does, and he doesn't have a lot of experience in dealing with them. Spying, you mostly deal with other adults. He also doesn't really get parenting. And again, we haven't seen most of his backstory. I understand that currently the manga is doing a big backstory arc for him. That's so I've heard. Confirm,
I'm not
deny,
there
I
yet.
don't know. You're not there yet. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard, is that currently they're going into that. But the one little flashback we've seen is him as a child walking alone through war-torn streets. So, like, nobody in this little family unit really knows how to parent. But Yor
Though-
definitely has the better
Yep.
idea of
Mhm.
positive reinforcement is good. You need to be patient with her. Like, come on. So I liked that. I liked him learning that and doing the whole, okay, well, come out and watch your show and then we'll talk afterwards. Like, the figuring out that the stick may not be working very well. So we'll try the carrot. We'll try that part. Oh, she's asleep. Oh, she was studying on her own. And I'm just like, okay, leave me here. Just leave me here. I have too many emotions. Very
Also,
good.
it was funny. He Anya had the moment of, "Please don't kill Papa." He went,
What kind of dreams are you having, child?
Yeah, that was so funny.
Like,
was
keep
such a
in
good
mind
bit.
that 3 episodes ago, she did kick you in the face.
That
Like,
is true.
"True." It wasn't that long ago. Yeah, this episode
Yeah.
didn't really have a lot of action, like fight
No.
scenes the same way, but it was overload of cuteness. And yes, I love that Damien having a crush on her, of just like, wait, what are these feelings? And that just felt very realistic of little kid and even adults. Like, I don't understand what I'm feeling right now. And like, wait a minute. And of course, he has it just like, I'm upset. I don't know what to do. I'm going to leave.
she punched me in the face, and I liked that.
I was going to say, it's somebody who
Yeah.
finally stood up to him. So that always seems to happen in stories of like, wait, someone isn't a pushover for me.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. I think I'm turned on as well. Like they're excited. This is referring to other ages, but he's excited that somebody is different
Yeah.
to him. So makes
And we've
sense.
had
and
that-
it's adorable.
And we've had that turnaround from these few episodes of the initial impression of, oh yeah, you want me. I can see you looking, to, why am I having feelings for a commoner? Like, just the complete 180. And I don't think he's going to have a chance to really figure that out or even think about it with the 2 yes men flanking him all the time.
Yeah. That's going to take a while if it does. Also,
Yeah.
it was just adorable of Anya in class hearing the other kids' like thoughts about her. It's true. School's scary.
Yeah.
Especially these other kids are just going to assume something about her. But I love Becky's like, again, best girlfriend that we all should have, of like, no, we don't care about other people's opinions. They're just silly. I will be here for you at all times. So like, thank you.
And also just that you take the bus. I can have my driver pick you up every day. How about that? Just
Rich
like,
girl?
doesn't even think about it.
Yeah.
We
Rich
all
girl
need a
perks.
Becky in our lives. We all need
Yes,
that like
please.
friend who's just gonna like pull you out of this bad situation and be like, no, don't follow that boy. He's dumb. Let's go hang out and do girl time.
Yes.
You've heard of Becky with the good hair. This is Becky with the good heart.
Oh yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
At least no spoilers, but like so far, yes. So we're
Yeah.
on a good track with Becky, and if they change anything, I will be so heartbroken.
Yeah.
I do really like that because I feel like they could have very easily put it in this whole like she's a commoner and everyone's going to treat her like crap. And I think having that one character who is that like higher standing, who's able to kind of really be there for her, and exactly like you said, the whole her sitting in class and hearing everybody. I think that's also one of the things that I love about this show so much is that Anya's so young and she's hearing these people's thoughts, but you can't react directly on what they're thinking because then they're going to react entirely different. So if like Damien is sitting there, and not that this has happened in the manga, but just like if he was like sitting there literally in front of her being like, oh my God, I like this girl so much. I just want to kiss her. If she kissed him, he'd freak out. You know, like
That's
he'd be
true.
like,
Yep.
what are you doing? Even though the thought in his head would be like, this is what I want. I want her to hold my hand. That's the thing with like, you know, young love. And when you're a kid, you like think you want something, but you don't want something, or you do want something. And it's so confusing at that age. And then especially for Anya being so young, like, you know, she hears her parents' thoughts and it's not always going to be exactly what they want. And I think that's going to be such a really fun thing to explore more with this show as it goes on, of all of those like little nuances of like miscommunication throughout this show.
Yeah.
Or as you're saying, not respond, the yes man of
Mhm.
Damien, of her responding to that, which was interesting because they didn't seem to be surprised that she said the things they were thinking, but I don't think they're smart enough to maybe pick up
Yeah.
on it.
No,
No.
they have one brain cell between them and they play ping pong with it.
Yeah.
But she did notice her dad in disguise, and he didn't pick up on that she noticed. And she didn't really question, what is he doing here so much? She just was like,
He's a spy.
oh, hi, you look weird. And then
She's like,
moved on.
Papa's a spy. He's doing a spy thing.
That's
I
true.
have to be good for Papa right now.
Yeah.
This is part of his mission.
Yeah.
Like she knows all that, so it's just like cool.
And then speaking of being good for her, being good for him being good for her, the parent, I love that conversation between Yor and Twilight of what it takes to be a good parent, and Twilight thinking like, I suck at this. And Francis, I think it was pretty much last week, Katie was pointing out of like being a good parent, pretty much you just have to be there.
Mhm.
It's like, Twilight, you're not perfect, and that's okay. That's not what she wants. She doesn't
Yeah.
want perfection.
Yeah.
And so him kind of those gears turning of like, maybe I am a good dad, and you're giving him that positive reinforcement. It was just adorable to watch of like, yes, you are. And
Yeah.
back to what you were saying earlier, Francis, of like, this slow relationship building is so nice to watch because it's so realistic. It's not
Yeah,
like, oh, instantly
absolutely.
everything's
Yeah.
great. And you're like, no.
I think
It'll
that's
take time.
also one of the beauties that this show's been able to do, because like you'd mentioned earlier how that it's a gag manga, and so they're going to do different things depending on chapters. So like in the earlier chapters, it was like a chapter per episode, but then there's certain chapters where it's like they have to like intermix it with the following chapters to really kind of get that story. They have to condense some of it, but some of the ones that they've been able to elongate, like the episode where they go to the castle. And he does all of that for Anya. That was like a very small chapter. And when I read that, I was like,
interesting.
how are they going to turn this into a whole episode? And the way they elongated it, actually, I felt like gave so much more character development to each of these characters that you could see just all of the hoops Lloyd is jumping through, how uncomfortable he is with being a little bit ridiculous, but also recognizing the importance of what he has to do for Anya and trying to get her to like recognize that it's like he cares about her and that he wants to do these things for her. And I think that that's the thing that I've been really enjoying with watching and reading the manga, because I don't want to spoil myself too much while I'm reading, so I only stick like I may be like 10 chapters ahead of the series, and then I like kind of wait a little bit in between.
You
'Cause
have
I
more
like seeing-
patience than I.
I'm trying. There's some nights where I'm just like, I need to read all of it, which by the way, the Shonen Jump app is like the best thing in the world. $2 a month, and then you get access to every Shonen Jump manga. It's oh my God, I've been reading everything lately.
Which is many.
I'm glad you
Yes.
mentioned that though about the castle, because personally I felt that episode was a bit like, like it felt a little fillery,
Mhm.
but that's interesting to hear from the manga that it was a more character development episode, and hearing it from that perspective, it's like, sure.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that like with certain series like this to kind of get that perception from both, because I would have seen that episode and just been like, oh yeah, this is filler. And while yeah, it is technically filler, I think they did it in a way that brought more attention to being able to connect to these characters, because I do think this is a very character heavy story.
Mhm.
Like even mentioned, there's not a lot of action in this last episode, and I don't think this show's about the action. It's about these characters and their stories and the silly gags that happen in between, but they're really trying to build you into falling for these characters and really rooting for their story. And I think episodes like that and episodes like this one, because this is another one where it was just like one chapter that they condensed into a whole big episode, and they're really able to dive deep into where these characters are and their feelings.
Well put. I'm like,
fun.
yes. Yeah, but this one didn't feel like filler because there was a lot of nice moments too. But yeah,
Yeah.
as you're saying, it is definitely a character-driven show, and we are rooting for them so much. And it's just like you're just so happy when it's making progress.
It felt like
Yay.
2 11-minute episodes put together.
Mm.
But that's I watch so much Western animation where it's like, yeah, no, episodes are 11 minutes long, and I'm like, fair, let's go. So
It,
I've been
Well, I don't
rewatching a lot of Sonic Boom recently, and it's just 11-minute episodes paired. Phineas and Ferb, 11-minute episodes paired. So Steven Universe, 11-minute episodes on their own. So
not
it's a
animation
lot of-
specific, but yeah, I've been watching shows that range when you're watching like 40, 50, 55-minute shows, and then you find something that's like 20, 25, you're like, what?
Just me,
You're
I'm like,
it's so short.
okay. It's like it's like, oh, okay, we do this in 11-minute episodes, but we get the theme at one end and the ending theme at the other, and okay, cool, let's go. Like again,
Pretty much.
Phineas and Ferb got me accustomed to that, and then
Mm.
Steven Universe and Sonic Boom were just like, this is how we do. You can tell that they're serious when it's a whole 22 minutes and it's the same episode.
Yes, Francis, we also have Tangent Corner when we go off and talk about other things, which are related, but I'm like, it's a little bit on the, but that's the point of like,
Tangentially.
It's a good tagline for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
anything else that stood out in particular on this episode that we haven't talked about yet?
I did like at the tail end of Twilight and Yours
And
conversation about
post-credit scene,
parenting,
which we'll talk about that in a second.
at the tail end of the conversation about parenting, that bit about, oh, well, I'm not part of your family, I shouldn't butt in. And yes, you are part of this family. I need you to pick up, like, I need you to be able to step in where I fall short. You're like, yeah, definitely give us your advice. We're like, you're part of this family, your mom. So just,
Yes.
I love stuff like that. Just like, yes, reaffirm.
Yeah, that was so
family,
great.
let's go.
And it's great on her sense because she respects that she's joining, she thinks, a unit that was already together, like a biological family. And it's like, because like they were together, but like, actually related. And
for like a week.
So then she's like, ooh, I don't mean to butt into your space, because yeah, if you join someone else's family and you're like, ooh, I don't want to, and he's like, no, you're part of this too. And I was like, yes, teamwork. Because yeah, they're just going to have different styles of like, here you want to, and then the asking, would you like to help out? And her like, yes. And it's like, oh my gosh, family units and friendships of like, hey, could you do this? Yes, I would love to, essentially. Thank you for asking, of like,
Thank you for making me a part of this.
Communication. We love to see it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes. Francis, was there anything else you noticed or we didn't talk about besides that post-credit scene, which we'll do that in just a second?
I think that was all the notable things that I loved from this episode so much.
So post-credit, we get Yor's younger brother that we had seen the like little bit earlier of how he was so smart and wanting to teach her, which that's also precious. If somebody is excited and wants to tell you about a thing, as long as circumstances are able, let them tell you about that thing. They are just so excited and they just want to share it with you.
If they wake me up in the middle of the night to tell me about their times tables, I'm amazed she did not eat that child out a window.
Yes, I'm like, yeah,
Far more
rules and
patient than I.
circumstances. Which I'm like
No.
momentary side on that one because I've seen those posts and I fully agree of like, don't beat those people down when they're excited because often that will stick in their head that that's a problem and it will
Mhm.
really deflate people and then they might lose that enthusiasm, which is so sad. So it's like, no, don't do that. Don't kill somebody's excitement.
I since we're in tangent corner,
Yes.
absolutely, because that was like my childhood. I only found out like 2 years ago that I'm ADHD, and it was just like, now I understand why my parents were constantly like, shut up and stop talking, because I couldn't stop talking because I'm ADHD. But then realizing now that I'm like, this is why I love that when somebody goes in a tangent, I just sit and listen and I want to listen to them and talk about it because I'm like, I wanted that. That's all I ever wanted. I wanted somebody to be interested and invested in my thing. And especially like, I feel like we're like parenting age, you start like, even if you don't have kids, you start realizing that it's like, these are things that should have been done and I never did. And I completely, yes, like embrace when they come to you and they want to tell you about the latest episode of, whatever show that they're watching or whatever thing that happened in school. Like embrace it and let them talk and just let them feel nurtured and loved and supported. And I think that's also something that like Lloyd does sometimes with Anya, that she'll just kind of go off about her spy show and he's like, okay, that's your spy show. And I wish he like were a little more invested in her show. A little
But
more.
we also know that he remembers because in the interview when she
True.
said that thing, he's like, that was the training montage from her spy show last night.
True.
And then I would piggyback off that and expand that that's for all ages too, not just children, anybody.
Oh, true. Absolutely.
Someone older than you, younger than you, doesn't matter. If they're excited about it, I mean, if you don't have the time, you should probably be like, not this second. I have to go to work or whatever, but
I'll talk to you later about this thing when I have time. Absolutely. Yes.
All right. And then speaking of having time for your family, apparently, you're not letting her younger brother know that she's married. Was such a cute moment. He's like, what?
It's like, oh yeah, how have you not met him? Met who? Can't wait for this.
This is I'm so excited for this episode. I'm so very excited to see how they do this. I won't spoil anything, but it's going to be good. It's going to be very good.
Just seeing the preview for next time, I'm like, whoa.
The excuse that I'm predicting is, oh, well, you're in this job, you're going up for this promotion, etc. Like there never seemed to be a good time to tell you that I married a man who already had a kid. Because there's enough stigma around that in this world that it's like, maybe I just,
I didn't want to bother you. You're so busy and everything. Yeah, that I feel she might do something like that.
I'm just like, is it more or less suspicious being single over being married to a guy that already had a kid? And it's like, well, I thought it was less suspicious to still be single, but then I keep getting told that's not the case. So, ta-da!
It does make you curious of like, it wasn't so much a second marriage because it's like, okay, so do people not really divorce that often? And that makes sense of like, oh, you have left your partner, the partner left you, ooh, bad. Like, I don't agree with that logic, but I can follow that logic. Versus my spouse died. Oh no, they should never remarry. Like, oh come on, like it's an empty spot. Like, why not have a new partner? Like, okay.
But we're also, again, looking at a country that's very 50s, 60s, and Eastern European-ish, just kind of from the look. Eastern to Central European, I'd say, just kind of from the looks of things, from the names.
Oh, is that Berlin specifically?
Yeah, if you remember the episode where at the school, they ask Anya for her address. She says Berlin.
Because we were talking about
these
how
are definitely countries that don't exist. Yeah. Generic. Let's avoid the actual historical baggage of this area.
Yeah, it could actually be the city Berlin, but maybe not the same country.
True. Yeah. It also, she said it kind of like because if you remember when she says her address, like she screws it up.
Yeah.
So I think they're trying to like not give like that direct country, but like allude that like this is what we're
Yeah.
thinking. Like this is
Yeah.
this is the kind of idea that we're at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that
Um,
sort of time and place, very much the focus on the nuclear family. And if like,
Mhm.
oh, well, if you don't have the nuclear family, what's wrong with you?
mhm.
Especially leaning into the suspicion of why are you still single at your age?
Yeah.
What is it? What happened? And then seeing people get got in spy raids.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
like,
I feel
oh,
like
okay.
I wonder if also because like if they're going for like that period, it could also be like, you know, scarier earlier World War II period is the concept. And maybe they're using like the whole like being caught as a spy as a illusion for something else of like you could be caught as this other thing that would go to a concentration camp. And so maybe it's also like a you
Mm.
know if you were a part of the LGBTQ plus at the time, you would definitely want to have like a faux family so that they're not like what
Right.
the heck's
Mhm.
going
Yeah.
on. So I think also there might be like allusions to that a little bit in that like time period, that kind of concept.
They could be
But
combining stuff too, because
yeah,
it could
I think
Yeah.
also be
that's what
like
they're
Soviet
doing.
Union stuff
Yeah,
I
it feels
too.
always
very
kind of figured we
Soviet.
were in Cold War era
Yeah,
where
Yeah.
it
something
feels
could
that.
erupt into an actual hot war.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for the moment, you have that uneasy treaty, and that's what that just screams
Mhm.
Cold War to me. Is
Yeah,
that
Well,
I
it's
can
nobody
like,
agree
really
on
wants to
that.
hit the button.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
that does
but
feel
it
more.
still feels like early 1900s
Yeah.
fashion
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
architecture. But I think that's pretty interesting to kind of have that amalgamation of things because yeah, we were
Mhm.
Francis, we had said on previous episodes, kind of nice to not be something super specific of an actual
Yeah.
historical place and time of like, wait, are these other things going to happen? It's a little more
Mhm.
like
That's
Europe.
like
Yeah, I
Brand New
agree.
Animal did some did some things with this where it got
Yeah.
real weird.
Wait, which one?
So, Brand New Animal,
The
BNA,
trigger one?
Oh,
Trigger, yeah.
well,
Where
because
they were
that
like,
one
and
was
here's where we were in all of these historical events. And I'm
Well,
like,
it was
no, no,
like
no, 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 no. You,
like
no,
street
no, no.
times.
I was gonna say I remember I liked that show, but I don't remember that part of it. But I did
That
watch it
very
back when it
much
came out.
stuck out to me,
Okay,
especially
that's
with
fair.
the identity of the big bad at the end and how that
Yeah.
was handled and the idea of like, yeah, just if you've seen BNA, you kind of know what I'm talking about. And the fact that we had and here's what was happening to the animal people in World War II was like, no, I just, no, no,
Let
no.
us pretend this was a different world.
It
Yeah.
just always gets really, really uncomfortable when it's like, here is your fictional situation, here is your fantastical situation,
Mhm.
and let's put these real world events that include real world
Yeah.
atrocities on top of it. And
I
it's
don't
like,
wanna think about World War
I don't
II
want it.
happening in Zootopia, you
Yeah.
know?
No, no. Like, again, Brand New Animal had some things to say that were worth saying, but some of the execution and some of the context they put in that didn't really need to be there really muddied the waters. So, again, I am grateful to Spy Family for just being like, here's our two random countries. And you
Yeah.
kind of get what we're going for here,
Mhm.
but like, we're just gonna, you know, they're not real countries. It's
I
just,
was gonna
it's vague approximations.
I think I've mentioned before as a parallel, and so one of those where it's an obvious metaphor, but it's like, no, it's not really there that I really did enjoy was Tanya Saga of Evil. Because that one feels like it's supposed to be Germany, but it's not. Because it's
Yeah.
also a parallel dimension time world thing.
Yeah.
So and there's a lot more of stuff that they do. And also there's magic. So you're like, okay, it's not really real world. But
Yeah.
that one uses things you know about what the world is kind of like and goes like, here, we're gonna change stuff. So
Yeah.
anyway. No, Ren and where'd it go? Yes. So I feel that covers up for the Spy Family. We're excited for what happens next, which
yeah.
then, besides checking that show out, stuff you should check out are things we've been watching, reading. What have you been checking out? And we would recommend to you. Katie, would you like to go first?
Sure. My book quest for last week really didn't pan out.
Mm.
Evidently, physical copies of The Hourglass Throne are on like 3-week back order. So it's either Kindle or bust. And for me, I'm waiting for the local library to hopefully get a copy soon and then put it in my hot little hands because I prefer paper copies of books. So the recommendation for the tarot sequence still stands. As well as the warning to mind the content warnings, especially if you require content warnings. Like, I'm fortunate enough not to need them, so I'm okay. But definitely mind the content warnings on that one. Very good, though. Speaking of mind the content warnings and also very good, I'm going to recommend a very specific Game Grumps playthrough because it was brought to mind earlier with the whole robot voice thing at the beginning of this show. For those not familiar with the Game Grumps, it is a Let's Play duo, Aaron and Danny. And they play video games and they talk over it. No webcams for these two, just talking. For those of you who've been watching this from the get-go, they are the same people behind the 10-minute Power Hour, which I've recommended more than once, which I continue to recommend because I love it. But their playthrough of a game called Doki Doki Literature Club is still one of my favorites. And if you are not familiar with Doki Doki Literature Club, on the outside, it looks like a high school dating sim based around a literature and poetry club. And there's, cute anime girls, and you're the protagonist, and you get to write poetry in order to romance them. And it's super cute. When you open up the game, there's an immediate content warning that it is not for young people or people who are easily disturbed. This is why I say it looks like a dating sim, because things occur. And I'm not going to go any further into things occur, but I would once again like to say that if you require content warnings, it's definitely not the same content warnings as Tarot Sequence. It goes very different places, but this is a good game to look up the content warnings and make sure that there's nothing in there that will cause problems for you. Because this is a very great game about technology, unreality. There's some really wild stuff in here. But also you want to make sure to keep yourself safe. The fun part of specifically the Game Grumps playthrough of Doki Doki Literature Club is that they give everyone a unique voice. They always do whenever they're reading something that isn't voice acted. And they pick particular voices for people just, because keeping them unique. For no reason at all, because it's funny, randomly assigned, they gave Monica a robot voice. And if you know anything about the game, you know why that is the best possible choice. So you can sit down and watch the whole playlist. They played it in 15-minute chunks. They assembled the playlist on their YouTube channel, which is, Game Grumps. They also recently re-edited it all together into a 6.5-hour movie. So there's no, intros and outros. There's no breaks. They edited out some extraneous stuff. And it's just their playthrough of the game, along with a countdown at the top that appears occasionally of Dan's life changes in X amount of time. And again, if you know the game, you know exactly what twist that's counting down to. But I really enjoy Doki Doki Literature Club. It's partly schadenfreude because Aaron knows what they're getting into and Dan does not. He is also fortunate enough to not require the warning, so that's okay. They're good enough people to each other that they would not purposefully cause problems. But yeah, it's the sort of thing where this game and playing it through affected him so much that in playthroughs of other games, he'll be like, wait, is this going to be a Doki Doki Literature Club thing? Is this going to be yeah, here we go. It's this one and PT that's stuck in his brain. So yeah.
Oh, PT.
PT. Dan is not a horror person. And there's just a 1-hour video of Game Grumps playing PT. And Aaron is having the time of his life. And Dan is just I hate this. I don't want it. Why are we still here? Why is it the hallway again? It came out on the PS4 years ago. It was made by Hideo Kojima, who is the same guy who does Silent Hill, I believe,
Okay.
and
No.
not Silent Hill.
He was gonna make a Silent Hill game, and this was the trailer, like a playable trailer. He's the one who did all of the
Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear Solid.
Yes.
And so it was him doing like a trailer, like you had to finish the
That's
whole
right.
game to get the trailer.
With Norman
So
Reedus in
PT
it.
stands for playable trailer. And it was before the game, like they launched that, and then like Konami and Kojima had a whole big falling out, so then the game never got made. But this trailer was so scary and spooky. You just went around a house and like this hallway, but it was just a loop. But then like while you go, things would change, and it was so spooky. When it came out, I had my roommate play it in the living room, and I swear my husband and I were standing in the kitchen away from the TV, holding each other and screaming while he's playing. And then we'd go and peek over and look at the TV for a bit and then run back and scream some more. It was so scary, but so good.
Okay,
Absolutely
so you
good.
need to watch the Game Grumps Play PT video because I think you'd really appreciate that experience.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
hysterical. But yeah, it's always fun when they play a game that like really sticks with them because they're doing Danganronpa. They're in the middle of Danganronpa 2, which is a wild ride. They've done the PT video, and again, there's just the one because you can no longer play PT. It was a digital download only. It was pulled from the store. So if you ever see a PS4 for sale that says it has PT involved and it has PT installed rather, and do not connect it to the internet. If you connect that to the internet, you'll lose PT. But people just sell whole PS4s with PT installed because that's the only way you can get it. So yeah. So Game Grumps Play PT is wonderful. Game Grumps Play Doki Doki Literature Club continues to be one of my favorite videos of theirs. And again, they've edited together like the movie cut is what they call it. It's about 6.5 hours long. It's on their YouTube channel. It's a fun thing to just kind of put up and listen to. They do a lot of good jokes. They're just a lot of fun. I enjoy listening to them. A lot of their Let's Play stuff got me through the pandemic. And if you are interested in any specific AAA title or larger game, they've probably played it or at least a portion of it. So it's a good channel. Check it out. Again, I recommend the DDLC playthrough. Mind the content warnings if you are not familiar with Doki Doki Literature Club. Like, if you don't need content warnings, then fine, go in. But I am firmly on a content warning is not a spoiler. It is there for people who need it train. So mind the content warnings and enjoy yourself.
All right. Francis, has there been anything you watched or game you've played or book you've read that you would like to let people know about?
Sky's the limit.
The only game I play lately is way too much Genshin Impact. I'm thoroughly addicted to that game. But I feel like it's hard to jump in now because like there's so many worlds to explore. It's like if you have the time and you want to grind, definitely jump in now because there's a lot that you have to do. That if you get some of the new characters, you're like you can't even level them up until you finish the story. But it is really good and it's really fun, and I'm terribly addicted to it. I have an anime recommendation that I've been telling everyone and their mothers, and it's a friend of mine, Nico, recommended it to me. And my husband and I sat down and watched all of it, and we were like, "How is nobody else that I know talking about this?" And it's a series on Crunchyroll. You can watch all of it now. That's out. They're gonna do a season 2 coming up. To Your Eternity. Have you guys seen that one?
I've heard of it.
Is that the one with like it's in the snow?
It starts
like
in
the
the
image?
snow.
Okay. I
Yeah.
know about it. It's on my queue, but I haven't watched it yet.
Okay. My spoiler-free description of what the show is about is there's this being who is like put on Earth, and anytime they're near something and then that thing dies, they can become the thing. With the only caveat that's a little weird is that they turn into a rock at first. And it's like, okay, but a rock isn't a living thing. But whatever, they're a rock. And then like they meet a dog, and then they become the dog because and then you meet this boy, and he's living out all alone in the snow, and this being, by the way, is immortal. doesn't know how to speak, doesn't know anything about the world, is just learning as he goes along. And the show, I'd say, like, the core message is about like immortality and what that means when you make friendships with people who aren't immortal,
Mm.
and how those friendships and relationships can mold you and change you as a person, and how everybody you meet is incredibly important to your own personal journey. But also, this main character, who's named Fushi, which is short for Fushimi, which is immortal. And Fushi is a precious baby. And this show, I won't say what episode, but I had to stop the episode and sit, and I sobbed. Not like I have a little bit of crying, like I have not sobbed since my father passed away. Sobbed on the couch like I forgot what show I'm watching. Why? Like, it's so good. It's so good. So if you love a really good cry, I 100% recommend the show. But it'll also, like, there's a lot of really funny scenes, really great action. I started buying the manga because I'm like, I cannot wait till the second season. And the second season is going to be coming out, I believe, in fall of this year. So watch it before the second season comes out, and then, bring me back on when you've both watched it. We can talk about it because it's so good. It's so good.
I'm sure
Yes.
it's amazing. I am not in the market to be emotionally devastated right now. I'm gonna put a pin in it until I am.
When you are.
Yeah.
When you are like I feel like being emotionally devastated about somebody else's story is going to help me not focus about my own emotional devastations. Definitely, 100%. It's so good. It's so good.
Fair.
We got Giga Derek in the chat said, finally saw the second Sonic movie and buying it on digital tomorrow. Fantastic movie.
A man of class and taste. It comes out on Paramount. Blah, words. It comes out on Paramount Plus tomorrow, along with an additional short. So new content.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I watched a bunch of stuff, so I won't do long descriptions, but I'm almost caught up because they are releasing episodes. There's a Halo TV show on Paramount Plus. Stick with it. The beginning feels very like Sci-Fi Channel movie, where it's a little over dramatic. Nothing against Sci-Fi Channel, but it's just, it feels a little bit like I thought Paramount Plus would have a different vibe, and I was like, oh, I don't know yet. But then it keeps going, and it's like interesting sci-fi. You don't need to know anything about Halo, and probably you might like it better because some people I think who had complaints are like, that's not what those characters would do, and meh, meh, meh. But someone who's never played it, I've watched a couple of the animated movies. It's fun. It's a fun show, and it's interesting enough that I'm curious to see where it's gonna go. I was gonna say, Katie, you made a face.
The Halo show is for people who are canon blind to Halo. And there is a going theory that it was written to be a Mass Effect show. And when they couldn't get the license, they had to reskin it. And for those who are not familiar, Halo and Mass Effect are two extremely different franchises that deal with extremely different character sets, themes, approaches to war. It's apples and oranges. They're both first
but the
shooters,
studio was
but
just like they're two video games and they have guns. You can make the same thing.
Yeah.
So then is someone
Halo
who knows
doesn't
nothing
deal in magic space rocks, and that's what the Halo show starts with. There's some
If you
don't
know anything about the game and you've only maybe watched some of the animated movies of Halo, it's still fun sci-fi stuff. Post-apocalyptic vibes that if you're like, desert planet and stuff. And so worth checking out if you have Paramount Plus. I don't know if I get Paramount Plus for it, but as you said, Sonic's on there, so maybe.
Yeah, that drops tomorrow. So do that.
There you go. Werewolves Within is a movie. It's pretty good. It's very quirky, so it might not be your cup of tea. It is funny horror stuff going on, but it's quirky. So
that's the one based on the board game, yeah?
Yes,
Werewolf?
there is a video game, Werewolves Within, and yes, it is based on that. Yes. Finally going through Russian Doll. I am liking it, but I thought I'd be more excited about it, but maybe I need to let it simmer more. New season of Love, Death, and Robots. Oh my gosh, I think this is the third season has been the best yet. I would say that because season 1 and 2 have really good parts, but there's a couple in both that are like, eh. So I felt season 3 has the most solid, throughout. Like every story had something really like, ooh, that's really interesting or good or unique. So,
isn't there an episode in this season that's done like entirely in stop motion miniature?
Yes, it's with zombies.
I saw some behind the scenes on that. It looked really interesting.
It's really funny. So yeah, that one's good, and there's some dark stuff too that is not, even though it's animated, it's not child friendly.
Animation does not necessarily mean for kids. It is a medium, not a genre.
Wait, this is true.
So the Oscars were wrong?
They generally are.
Yeah.
You mean the
said
category?
Animations for kids? That's
you
what
mean
I
the
heard.
category where most of the voters only watch the Disney movie and the Pixar movie that are animated and don't even bother watching the other ones? That category, the category they made to ensure that an animated movie would never win Best Picture after Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Picture, that category, I have no respect for the Oscars. None. So, you
should watch Adam
Belle
Ruins
didn't
Everything.
Get nominated,
so
I'm like, I don't believe in them anymore.
Oh yeah. You should watch Adam Ruins Everything anyway. Always watch Adam Ruins Everything.
He has a new show on Netflix.
Yeah, and then also his Twitter feed is amazing.
His TikToks are really good.
Really?
Yes. He has a TikTok.
He has
and
nice,
so
good. To the point,
Mm-hmm.
same like the other stuff, but within the short time period.
Yeah.
I saw that he did one on like the Metro Mile or whatever it was, the new little Metro service.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're in LA, it's like Uber, but Metro and cheaper, to my understanding.
I know we're on a tangent again, but like he also has a really good podcast as well. So if you're like a podcast person, I definitely love a good podcast when I have to drive into LA. So that's a really good one to check out, the Adam Conover's one. It's really good.
I think as a whole, all three of us are recommending Adam Conover's oeuvre.
Everything is good.
Great.
It's just so interesting.
Yeah.
All right. A couple other really quick ones. I did watch the Chip and Dale movie. It's cute. If you want just something light and feel good, I do think Sonic was a more interesting
I saw like a clip video of that, of like ugly Sonic, and I was like, oh, I need to see this movie
well,
now.
Francis, I think you'd like this movie because it deals a lot about bootlegs. And
I'm so excited.
That's I won't say how that's involved, and I'm like, that's not a spoiler because it's pretty quick right away.
Yeah.
It has so many nostalgia little moments and like Easter eggs. So like that was really fun. Like there's a lot of fun moments of like, oh that's cool. And that's funny. And then making fun of themselves, which I do appreciate that. I just don't think I was like, oh, it was so good. But I think for some people, they really loved it. Great. I think it was just, it's easy popcorn flick kind of idea. But yeah. And if you're a fan, I did love Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers as a show. So then how they tie in what that was into this movie is very funny. So I do recommend it, of like, if you have, it's on Disney Plus and they didn't have a paywall on it. So that's always nice.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
The paywall is the Disney Plus subscription.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. It gets to the end of our show. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. If you're watching it later, again, comment down below your thoughts on what we covered. Thank you for joining us in the live chat. And a huge thank you to Francis for joining us. Woo! Yes.
Thank you for having me. You guys can find me. This is my handle. This is my handle for TikTok. And then everywhere else, I'm like a million different things. I'm How Girl Figures. I'm like a variation of Dancing Queen something on Twitter. I don't know. If you search my name, you will find me. And that is my name. So there you go. Go find me there. And then thank you both for having me. This was a blast. And I hope this won't be the last time that you have me on.
Yes, we should definitely have you back. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
And Katie, where can people find you over there?
You can follow.
I was like, toss it over
this area. Don't come in from this area. All right. Yeah. I'm good at this. It's only been 28 episodes. We're Perfectly executed. I got my second COVID booster today and the brain is just not here. It's get your shots, kids. They're important. My name is Katie Cullen. You can follow me all over the social medias as well as on YouTube and Twitch at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet. We're still kind of working on the channel side of things, but if you want all of the opinions, the Twitter. Everything's on the Twitter. If you want to see all of the ridiculous jokes that the Overwatch League fandom goes nuts over on weekends, just follow along. Watch us all make fun of each other and yell as our predictions die. It's a good time. Nobody's good at predictions. That's what makes it fun.
There you go. Exactly. It's one of those like, that's the entertainment of it, of like, I don't know. So
very few of us agree on what to pick. Nobody's ever good at it. And it's either I did really good Preds this week or they're all on fire. Forget just the whole Preds on fire. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, I was going to say, Francis, your user handle is at least most the way across. So it's a little easier to be like, where I got a point. There we go. Yes. It's backwards, everybody. It feels weird. Of like
it's mirrored. So it's like, oh, point that. No.
Yep. And you all can find me online at Carrie D Lane. That's KARIDLANE across all the platforms. It's going to be on YouTube soon, and then I'll be sharing it probably on my Instagram too. Recently, I covered the Indian Film Festival for Dia TV, and there is the recap video available now. That's over on their Instagram, but you can find the link to that on my Instagram as well. So it's very fun of interview filmmakers and red carpet glam. So that's always fun. And I think that's about it of what's available now. But just go check out on the social webs for all these amazing folks here. And then thank you for watching and joining us. And we'll be seeing you next week. Bye.
Bye.